Hey guys, welcome back to Dear Kevin, and today we're talking about the last of the View Askew films, sorta, until Clerks 2 happens. This is kind of a big video for me because it's the end of an era for Kevin Smith. It was the end of like phase 1 of Kevin Smith and his early works. This was his 5th movie, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This is the 2-disc DVD. I believe it's on Blu-ray, but I don't have it on Blu-ray. Big video for me because, like I said, it was the first Kevin Smith film I saw, and like I talked about in the last video, I wore a trench coat and a backwards hat all throughout high school, so I thought I'd break out my old Kevin Smith coat and put it back on. So, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. People gave him a lot of shit for it, and still do. I remember online, like after Jersey Girl and Clerks 2, when I was getting deep into like the internet of it all and being on message boards and trying to, become part of that film geek community. People were really fucking hating on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like, real hardcore Kevin Smith fans were hating on it because they said it was too silly, and after something as profound as Dogma and something as honest and personal as Chasing Amy, how could he think of making such a silly, cartoony movie? The behind the scenes of it all is, Kevin Smith got death threats for making Dogma. It was a hellish time for him and his family and friends. He just met Jen and gotten a kid, gotten a wife, and his family was getting death threats. The movie kind of got fucked over because Miramax had to stop distributing it. It didn't make the money that it could have, I believe. I mean, $30 million for Dogma is still a pretty good deal, but after all that fucking political shit and the Catholics going after him and people protesting the movie and getting death threats, he just wanted to do something happy and fun that nobody could complain about. Although, weirdly enough, Glad, I think, kind of got pissy with him for some shit in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. The other thing is, Jason Mewes had gone way down the rabbit hole of heroin usage. For those who don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know, Jason Mewes plays Jay to Silent Bob. Kevin Smith's childhood friend, had always struggled with drugs, and around the time of Dogma and before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he had gotten really fucked up on lots of drugs, particularly heroin, and it was getting harder and harder to kind of clean Mewes up and get him straight for the movies. So, as kind of a last-ditch thing, Kevin had said, listen, Jay, if you get clean, we'll make a movie that's just me and you. We'll be the stars, you'll get a lot more money, it'll be really fun, we'll do it together, but please get clean. So that was also kind of the thing. It was kind of a promise for his friend to get sober and help his friend stay sober. And apparently throughout the course of the movie, Jason Mewes was sober. He drank a lot, that was the only thing. Was like, I'll stop doing drugs, but you gotta let me drink on the weekends, and I promise I won't come to set drunk. Which is why Jason Mewes is a little bit thicker, a little bit chubbier in the movie. He looks healthy, honestly, into that strung out kind of heroin Jay we're used to. And apparently, like, on the last day of shooting, 10 minutes after they wrapped, Mewes was in his trailer getting really fucked up. So, sad time behind the scenes for Kevin Smith and his family and friends. With, like I said, with the death threats and with Mewes going really deep down a rabbit hole, so much so that he couldn't be in the next movie, Jersey Girl. But the movie itself is a really fun, lighthearted, silly, Tim Burton's Pee Wee Herman kind of movie, a big old cartoon, a big old, it's kind of a throwback to, like, something from the 60s or 70s, like a real screwball kind of comedy, but also very filthy. And it moves really fast. It's a real short movie. I think it's like 98 minutes. And the plot, for those who don't know, is that Jay and Silent Bob were the basis for a comic book called Bloodman Chronic. And that comic book has been purchased by Miramax, and there's going to be a movie made. And Jay and Silent Bob don't like the fact that there's going to be a movie made because people on the internet are saying, fuck Jay and Silent Bob, they're stupid. Referring to fictional characters. Fictional characters! So Jay and Silent Bob had to go on a road trip from Jersey to Hollywood in order to stop the movie. As I said in the last one, James Venable, who did the score for the Clerks cartoon, he was brought on to do the score for this movie. It's a really fun, flamboyant, exciting, energetic, silly score because the movie is such a cartoon. There's a lot of breaking the fourth wall jokes. There's a lot of celebrity cameos throughout. Wes Craven plays himself. Shannon Doherty, who was in Mallrats, shows up for a Scream 4 parody, and eventually Scream 4 would happen. What else? Ben Affleck comes back to play himself, and also play Holden McNeil from Chasing Amy. Matt Damon comes back to play himself on the set of Good Will Hunting 2, which is my mother's favorite scene. The one scene in this movie that she thinks is really funny is the Good Will Hunting 2 parody, when they finally get to Hollywood. Jason Lee comes back to play Banky and Brody. He's doing the double duty of playing both his previous characters. George Carlin comes back to play Hitchhiker, which is my favorite like laugh moment in the movie. Who else we got in there? Obviously Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. Chris Rock comes back to play a black director who's directing the Blunt Man and Chronic movie. We got a trifecta of kick-ass girls: Ali Larter, Elijah Dushku, and what's her name? Jennifer Schwalbach, Kevin Smith's wife. And then we've got a romantic lead. For the first time, we get to see Jason Mewes and Jay go through kind of a love story of sorts. And he's really sweet in the movie. The character is fucking, filthy, but he's actually got a good heart. And that's Shannon Elizabeth of American Pie fame. Like I said, the movie moves really quick. There's all kinds, any joke you could possibly want in this movie is there. Like I said, the fourth wall breaking jokes, there's some good CGI jokes, the dialogue is really fun and snappy. This is the movie that, like, people my age, like when we were in high school, loved because it's so goddamn filthy and fun. Like, to this day, I have the opening, Kevin Smith written J rap memorized, Not gonna do it because fuck it, we're on the internet, you can just go look it up, but I have that memorized and I would keep my friends entertained doing that monologue. Who else is in this fucking movie? Will Ferrell's in to play Marshall Willenholly. He's a great big screwball of a character. Sean William Scott shows up also from American Pie fame. Jason Biggs, also from American Pie, shows up to play himself. Like I said, just jam-packed with celebrity cameos, and it's just a fun movie. It's got lots of fun Hollywood jokes, making fun of the Hollywood system. It's got a lot of good road trip jokes. Carrie Fisher shows up playing a nun who gives them a bit of a ride, picks them up as hitchhikers. Mark Hamill shows up as himself to play the villainous cockknocker, and Kevin Smith gets to have a fucking lightsaber fight with Mark Hamill, and he gets to win. Fucking imagine that shit. Say what you want to about Kevin Smith, all you Kevin Smith haters out there, but the dude has accomplished more than you ever will if you spend all your time hating. He got to have a lightsaber fight with Mark Hamill, and he got to dance with Morris Day and the Time in the same movie. So I like watching this movie from time to time because it's just a really fun, I don't get a lot of emotionality out of it. It's not like, I tend not to watch too many silly movies, like really screwball comedies. I'm just kind of moved beyond that as a viewer. If I am going to watch a real screwball comedy, I tend to go towards the real classics like Blazing Saddles or, fucking Blazing Saddles. That's my screwball comedy. Or Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Like, if I'm going to watch a real screwball silly comedy, like just fluff, I tend to go towards the classics. And, that's the thing with this kind of movie. And a lot of movies like this, these kind of silly, meaningless but fun kind of comedies, they've got really, really, they're standing on high shoulders, so it's tough to get one that's even worth watching, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back absolutely is. I'm also a huge fan of Kevin Smith and his earlier films, so all the little references to all the other movies are a delight. Makes me really happy to see everybody else coming back to play their old characters, and references to Mallrats and Chasing Amy and Clerks and Dogma. Dante and Randall are back for the first time in color and on screen. In a deleted scene is a reference to the Clerks cartoon, but they cut that out. So yeah, it's got a lot of really fun Easter eggs for a Kevin Smith fanboy. But as I said, I saw it before I'd seen any of the movies. I didn't know who Kevin Smith was. So I still think the movie holds up just on its own. If I was ever going to get high and watch a Kevin Smith movie, it'd probably be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So yeah, it's a really fun, silly little movie. And the DVD is jam-packed with deleted scenes and blooper reels and music videos and a really fucked up commentary track, which I'll talk about more when I get to the Me and My Shadow episode I'm going to do. But Mewes is fucking strung out on heroin during the commentary track. Like, at one point he's like, I have to go to the bathroom, and it's clear he's leaving the commentary track to go shoot up or take pills or whatever. It was the end of an era, after Dogma. At the end of the end credits of all the early Kevin Smith movies, he would always say, like, Jay and Silent Bob will be returning in. So at the end of Clerks, it says, Jay and Silent Bob will be back in Dogma, because he hadn't written Mallrats yet. At the end of Mallrats, it says, Jay and Silent Bob will be back in Chasing Amy. At the end of Chasing Amy, it says, we'll be back in Dogma, promise. And at the end of the Dogma credits, it said, Jay and Silent Bob will be back in Clerks 2, Hardly Clerkin'. And he didn't know if he wanted to make it, so he didn't. He kind of bailed on the idea of Clerks 2 and instead did this full Jay and Silent Bob movie. And at the end of the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I believe the end credits is like, Jay and Silent Bob are done. Like, thanks for watching, but we're retiring the characters. So the plan was for this to be the last Askewniverse movie, the last interconnected comedy, the last Jay and Silent Bob movie. Maybe they'd come back to a cameo somewhere, but this was supposed to be it. This was supposed to be the end, and he was going to move on to the next chapter, which we'll talk about when we get to Jersey Girl. I think as a last, like, hurrah, it's a really fun way to go out. Obviously, he's still doing it. He's doing Clerks 2 and Mallrats. Clerks 3 and Mallrats 2. And I'm not sure if those movies are going to have, like, a sign-off at the end, like, goodbye, thanks for watching, and here's, like, the end of a TV show where they have to wrap everything up, and... Or like the end of the Lord of the Rings movie where it's like, let's make sure we see what every single character is going to be doing for the rest of their lives. I don't know if he'll be doing anything like that, but this movie ends with a lovely little freeze frame of Jay and Silent Bob laughing together. It's a real, like, right off into the sunset kind of moment. Obviously, I'll get to it when we talk about Clerks 2, but I love the final images of Clerks 2. The other thing that's notable about this movie, in the whole end of the View Askewniverse thing, is I think it's the only Kevin Smith movie to have a tag. A post-credits tag like Marvel does. I could be wrong. Tusk might have one as well. I think Tusk actually does have one with Johnny Depp. But this movie ends with a big old book, like a huge prop book that says, like, the View Askew Bible or something like that. And Alanis Morissette as God shows up to close the book and say, like, we did it, thank you, this book is done, we're moving on to the other thing. So, if Chasing Amy you thought was too serious, and Mallrats you thought was a little bit too amateurish, and Clerks was too vulgar, and Dogma was too fucking heavy with its religious themes, if you just want to watch a really fun comedy from a really funny motherfucker that just wants to tell some jokes, go watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Also, for any of those fucking critics who say he's a visual idiot and doesn't know how to tell a story visually, bad director, this movie should shut that down. There's so many, like, action sequences and set pieces. The colors are so goddamn vibrant. I think Jamie Anderson shot this one. Because they had to get rid of Dave Klein, which I'll talk about when we get to Clerks 2. It's visually wonderful. It, like I said, moves really fast. There's a lot of fun action sequences in it. If you like, superhero movies, but you also like parodies of superhero movies, the finale of this fucking movie is so much fun. The cast are all having a blast. It's clear that there's nobody here who doesn't want to be here. And I have a lot of affection for this movie. It's a very silly little film, but as far as silly little films go, it's a real pleasure to watch. And I think as far as, like, Kevin would think of this movie, I believe this was the first movie he showed his daughter, because, like, they turned the sound off so she could hear the swearing. But, like, it plays. It is visually engaging, and it plays like a big old Looney Tunes cartoon. So I like this movie a lot. Nothing really more to say about it. The Dear Kevin this week is maybe the most simplistic thing ever, and I've probably said it in one of the other videos, but Dear Kevin, I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back a lot. I think you do wonderfully when you're just trying to make people laugh, when you're just trying to be silly, and tell the weirdest jokes you can, and do different takes on old jokes, and when you get to play in that field of, the rarefied field of a comedy writer, which is, who you are, it's fun to see you play with those tropes and think up new takes on them. I also think that this movie shows that you are not just, the guy who shoots people behind the camera talking. So, I don't know how you feel about it. You haven't really talked about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in a long time. And like I said, the commentary track, you're just kind of like, boy, this movie moves, doesn't it? That commentary track with you, Kevin, is real interesting to listen to, because you seem like you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do now. I'm done. So, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's a big step up for you as a filmmaker. I think it shows... I think when you watch this movie and then watch something like Cop Out, it's clear that you have the chops to direct, action sequences and big poppy, colorful action movies, R-rated comedies, R-rated action movies. So, also I think it's lovely, like I said in one of my other vlogs, that you did something that's just a flat-out love letter to your friends. And in this case, to your fans as well. It's not often that you get to see somebody that you love so much do something so fan-oriented and just like, thank you guys, like, this is for you, if you liked my shit, here we go. It's the biggest inside joke in the world, so good on you for doing it, and I hope you do something like it again someday. I hope you do something, that broad and goofy and silly. I mean, you do it all the time on your podcast. A lot of your podcasts are very much just like, penises and bananas and, whatever. I like it when you're just silly, and I like this movie quite a bit because of that. So, sincerely, George. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I don't know how long I've been talking. Probably longer than I need to for a movie that's, this unabashedly silly and fun and kind of fluffy. I'll be back next time. I'll be switching gears again after talking about Kevin and his work for the past, 6 videos. I'm going to be switching over to, well, I take it back. I was going to say I'm talking about my screenplay, but actually the next video is going to be Batman Superman, my thoughts on it. So if you give a shit what I think about Batman v Superman, come check it out. I recorded it just after I got back from the theater, so my thoughts are real fresh, and wow, Batman v Superman, that's a thing that happened. Anyway, thank you for watching, and and I'll see you next time. All right. See you.